Hi, everyone. Welcome. So glad that you all have taken the time to be here to talk about fundraising trends in the year 2025. I know we're a little bit into the year, and I know that fundraising is on everyone's minds. So, welcome. Again, if you can keep yourself on mute, unless you have a question, that would be great. And we're gonna jump in. Again, this webinar is co-sponsored by Indigo Skies Consulting, as well as the Executive Director Roundtable and the Development Roundtable. And I want to say that on this webinar, there are many folks from Santa Cruz County, but also folks from other communities and states across the country as well. And just want to say welcome. A little bit about myself. I've been an executive director for 12 years, now working as a fundraising consultant and executive coach through Indigo Skies Consulting. Also have a company called LGBTQ e-learning, and excited to have been co-author of an Amazon bestseller book, Success Redefined. Just came out last February, co-authored with Jack Canfield, the Chicken Soup for the Soul guy, as well as many other authors. So I don't need to tell you that we are living in a time of great uncertainty. The new administration has clearly contributed to that. Just this week, I'm sure everyone knows the federal grants, the grant funding was frozen. That happened Monday. Wednesday, a judge says, we're going to let funding keep going, but we're going to review the legality of this. I believe it's the review, I believe, is happening next Monday. So that has brought, of course, a lot of chaos, great concern, and uncertainty to many organizations, especially ones that depend on this federal funding. We also have a lot of natural disasters, fires, hurricanes, climate change impact, and we are navigating all of this together, and of course, economic uncertainty as well. So before we jump into the trends, I just want to say that I'm holding as my word of the year to be pivot, and that we don't know what's coming. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to share in the philanthropy realm what I'm expecting to see this year, but just a reminder that we just need to be nimble. We need to be able to pivot and move and keep taking care of ourselves so that we have the internal resources to do that. So when something happens, there's a disaster, something's unknown, that we're not just frozen, that we have enough reserves that we can say, okay, what's the next right thing that I need to do now? So I want to remind us there's good news in the economy. While there's uncertainty. 2024 was an extraordinary year for the stock market, and we've had a strong start to the economy in 2025. So when the economy is good, people often feel good about giving more. So that is great news. Also, people are looking for strong, effective organizations who can address some of these huge issues of our time. I think there's a sense of hopelessness that so many of us are feeling. And when we can look to an organization and say, wow, this group is doing this work so effectively, they want to be part of that. They want to join. They want to be financial partners. They want to volunteer. And so I think when we're sharing our impact and letting people know, that is feeding their own sense of purpose. And so I think that is good news. So jumping into some of the trends. So the first one I want to talk about is planned giving. And I'm sure many of you are aware that we are in a time of the great wealth transfer. There is $84 trillion with a T in assets that's going to change hands over the next likely 20 to 25 years. Of that money, it's expected that $72.6 trillion will go to heirs, and $11.9 trillion is going to go to philanthropy. And so this is a huge amount of money, of resources that is going to come into our sector. And this is really a once in a lifetime opportunity, maybe once in a many lifetimes opportunity. And because this money is going to come, many of it from baby boomers, those organizations with strong legacy giving programs are going to benefit significantly more than organizations that don't have them. So making sure that you are having conversations about your legacy giving programs is really essential for your long-term financial health. And also, the data shows that when someone makes a planned gift, it often leads to increased annual giving because they're saying, yes, I want to invest in you for the long term. And oftentimes, people then want to ensure your success today as well. So, why is the great wealth transfer happening? First of all, the baby boomers was a very large generation. There were higher education rates than previous generations because education and work was more available to more women, and there are just more two-income families. So many folks often made and saved more money. Um, Clearly, if you're in California, but also other places too, the cost of things like houses has gone up exponentially. So someone who could buy a house in the 70s and that was so much more affordable, now their house is worth exponentially more money. So they have more assets. There was also better access to birth control. Less people decided to have kids. They had smaller families than previous generations. And because of that, they're much more likely to do planned giving. So, one of the things that's great about planned giving is that it is something for donors of all giving levels. That we have noticed in the past few years that more of our budgets and organizations are funded by fewer donors. But with planned giving, a donor that loves you but maybe doesn't have a lot of cash on hand, maybe they're giving you $100, $500 a year, but they love what you're doing, they're really committed. Sometimes they may leave you a very significant gift at the end of their life because they might have a house to donate or some assets that maybe they don't know what they're going to need, but at that time, it's part of their legacy. So it's important to be having these conversations with donors at all different giving levels. If you don't have a robust planned giving program, it's important. There's lots of pieces of it, but two things I want to point out is how to have these sensitive conversations with the donor and what are you listening for to lead into that conversation, and we're going to have more webinars and conversations about this coming up in the year. So the second trend is technology, right? Of course, AI, I'm going to talk about more of that in a moment. Data privacy, also tools for automation. How can you automate tasks, personalize your communication, and then using technology to develop meaningful connections. There are ways to find the best time to reach out, like I used to, when I wanted to book with someone a meeting, I'd send 3 times, and now I send my Calendly link, and it just saves so much time and back and forth. Also, we can do predictive analysis and find out donation patterns. So I'd like people to come off mute just to say, what are you using? I'm focusing on AI, but all technology, what are you using it for? How is it helping you right now? Please just shout it out.
I can say, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sorry. I can say for developing or rewriting policies. Um, the idea of using AI for donor outreach doesn't feel right to me. So we kind of keep it just in-house for academic use.
Okay, great. Thank you. How about others?
I guess I'd say idea generation. It's a great brainstorming tool.
Yep, absolutely. Great. How about others? Thank you, Rebecca.
I've used AI for like when I have my grant text and I need to like slightly pivot the number of words or those sort of things. It's great to help manage word counts and things.
Absolutely. How do I, say this in less words or yes, 100%. What else? How are other people using AI? Well, there are lots of ways you can be writing it. We heard grant writing, research, planning, speeches, web content, newsletter copy, image and graphic generation, editing, grammar, video editing, brainstorming, making data-driven decisions, donor analysis and prediction. So you can put in a large amount of data and you can make it anonymous, take out people's names, give everyone a number, and then the AI can tell you when you should be asking or making the next touch point, how much you should ask for, at what time. There's really some amazing um, ways that this is supporting us. Translation to other languages, financial forecasting. Um, Today I was on a webinar and learning about using chatbots, about if you have a museum and you want to have some historical figure, you can get chat box and people can, like, as if they're asking that person questions. Or if you're at a zoo and you have a panda, you can generate a little AI panda and people can ask questions to the panda about what it's like to be a panda. So there are all these sorts of creative ways that we can use this to bring our work to life, save us time, and share our impact. But we have to be really careful about data privacy and really guarding our donor data. I think there's so much we don't know about how this data is going to be used, and how it can be stolen or our systems being broken into. And so just being really careful. You can always ask questions, and some of them, make sure you're reading the privacy settings. For example, in ChatGPT, in the free version, I understand, goes into training the model, but in the paid version, you can turn that off. So, but I still would be hesitant to put in donors' names. So you have to really be thoughtful about the data. And while AI is really helpful in huge ways, it's not a replacement. So yes, AI can get us along the way, 70, 80, 90, 95% of the way sometimes if we have really good prompts. But then we need HI, human intelligence. And it's really important to always check your sources and make sure that you can stand behind anything you're putting out, that you never just cut and paste something, that you always are using your human intelligence. And that's where the partnership is powerful. So I'm not going to go into all these, but there's a lot of AI resources out there. And I think what's important is putting that time in your calendar to explore them and figure out what's going to support you. So here are some tools you may or may not know about. Willy, it's a tool from Free Will, which is an amazing organization. It's an AI nonprofit content companion. So you can go in that's specifically made for nonprofits to go in, and you can use AI specifically designed for nonprofits. They have one that's free, Willy, and then I think the paid one is William. Grant Assist can help write grant proposals in often a third of the time. Fundraise Up, they're analyzing data and suggesting donation options, that they can help you figure out when to ask people at what time and for what amount. ChatGPT and Claude, these are content generations and can do a lot more. I think you hopefully know about these. Grammarly, help to polish written communications. Jasper, assist with fundraising campaign content. There's a bunch of different tools. There are more coming every day, but I think that it's important just to play with them. So I hear the question a lot, is AI going to take our jobs? So I will say that AI is not going to take your jobs, but people using AI will take your job if you don't know how to use it. So people using AI are going to be more productive and more employable. It's going to be like competing against someone who doesn't know how to use a computer. So in today's world, if you don't know how to use a computer or the internet, or you don't know how to type, you become much less competitive in the job market. So What I think is really exciting is that by using AI, that it's going to take on some of the tasks that are going to save time so that you have more time to then meet with your donors and build these authentic relationships. So just more on technology is another trend connected to that is cashless giving. And just make sure you have cashless giving tools, that you make it easy for people to donate in the way that they want to donate. Maybe that's digital wallets, QR code giving, staying relevant and offering an easy giving experience. And a lot of your donor management systems have the ability to help you do this. Also, alternative currencies. Crypto, stock giving has increased. The most donated alt currency is Ethereum, also known as ETH. It's carbon neutral, which is a great thing about it. Having these options also shows you're staying relevant as an organization. All right. The next trend is authentic donor connection. I think sometimes people think, oh, great, now there's AI. It's going to raise all my money for me. And that's just not how it works. So these are tools to help you save time. And with the time you're saving, you can then build better relationships. And thinking how do you move from transactional relationships to authentic? And how are you seeing your donors as your partners, not just your piggy bank? And we know there's going to be an economic recession. We don't know when, but we know at some point there will be again. It happens about roughly every decade. And so as we're thinking, how do we plan now for whenever it comes? What we know is that in times of economic recessions, in financially hard times, that donors sometimes double down on the organizations that are their favorites, are the ones that they want to make sure get through this hard time. And then often they may not be giving as generously to all the others that they care about, but they're not closest to their heart. So then you think, okay, how are you investing your time into building your organizational family, into really building relationships with your donors? Because at the end of the day, there's probably another great organization, maybe that has overlap in mission as your great organization, but that donor is gonna sometimes have to choose. And I had a conversation just yesterday with an executive director that said, why is this donor giving me $200 and they're giving that similar organization over there $25,000 every year? Like, what's the difference? And I said, well, that organization has probably spent a lot of time developing that relationship, because at the end of the day, right, people want the ABCs. Yes, they need the ability to give and the belief in your work, but do they have that connection? Do they have that relationship? And so all the time that you're building your organizational family, is you are making your organization recession proof. The next trend is multi-generational donor cultivation. So think about the average age of your donors. So what I know is when I go to often donor appreciation events and I look around, especially at some of the more high capacity donors, they're often older adults, over 60 years old, sometimes over 70 years old. And I think it's really important, so yes, we're thinking about legacy giving, but also thinking about how we're connecting in meaningful ways with our donors, their spouses, if they have, their partners, their kids, their family, that thinking about how we are expanding our connections and not only with the who's important to the donor, but also within your own organization. One thing someone once said to me was, you don't want to have skinny relationships. You want to make sure in your organization that each donor has connections to multiple people, that you have shared relationships. And finding that in-person niche experiences, that this is something that's going to be really meaningful, especially in these multi-generational donor cultivation outreach efforts. I know one of my clients is an environmental organization, and they've had great success, having tours and walks with multi-generations of a donor's family. And so they all get a share in this meaningful experience together, which also it gives a chance for the donor to share an organization they love and to help build that connection across the generations. Also knowing there's different um, behavior often with different generations. And what we see is that younger generations are more likely to want to get involved. They're less likely to just want to write a check and walk away, if they even write checks anymore. So they may give through all the other ways. So it's important that we have opportunities for people to meaningfully get involved as you're thinking about multi-generational donor cultivation. So these are my slides, and I'm going to for questions in a moment. But before I do, I just want to say for those who are local in Santa Cruz County or surrounding areas, we have a couple in-person upcoming events. On Wednesday, February 12th, we're having an event called Preventing Burnout in Nonprofit Leadership. Feels like a really, really important topic. I'll be co-presenting with Stephanie Baron-Liu, who is the fantastic executive director of PDCR, Positive Discipline Community Resources. It's going to be an in-person lunch and learn, also co-sponsored with Nonprofit Connection, the Executive Director Roundtable, and the Development Roundtable. And on Thursday, March 6th, we're having an in-person executive director roundtable at the Community Foundation of Santa Cruz County. And I just want to share, just folks know that the focus of our work at Indigo Skies Consulting this year is we're continuing to support organizations around capital campaigns and planning studies. We do a lot of fundraising, consultation, and executive coaching, board trainings, planned giving. We do a lot of development plans to help organizations figure out how do we use our limited resources to have the biggest impact. And we're starting to do nonprofit AI consultations for organizations that are like, there's so much out there. Where do I start and how do I do this most effectively? And if you have any interest in having a conversation, then please reach out. We'd be happy to talk to you.